And what is going on, everybody? Sports Guru Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Back at it again here on a Monday in mid-April. Good to be back again here on the Sports Scoop. Got a lot to get into today. Thank you, everyone who is listening in wherever you may be right now. Thank you to WPPJ once again for allowing me the opportunity to blab about various sports topics for about an hour each week. I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, I got a lot to get into today. The NBA playoffs are here. Folks moaning and complaining about the NBA regular season are going to get all quiet now because the NBA playoffs are here. I'm very excited. There's actually a lot of compelling first round matchups headlined by Nuggets Timberwolves, and I'm going to talk about that one a lot. I'm going to go through each first round. Well, I'll go through the play-in because some those 1 versus 8 and 2 versus 7 matchups aren't finalized yet. I'll go through the play-in matchups and who I think is going to come out of that, and then who will face off against OKC and San Antonio and Detroit and Boston. So a lot of fun stuff here coming up with the NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs coming up in a couple weeks here. Penguins clinch their spot like we thought they would in a win against New Jersey on the road on Thursday. Then they rested a lot of players against Washington the first game, and then the second game they were just kind of out of it. Washington needed it a lot more, obviously, and Washington swept the Penguins actually in those two games. But that's all for naught because the Pens are in. And the Pirates, other than yesterday's performance, where literally they're up 6-2 or 6-3, 5-2 at one point late, and they blow the game. Other than that, they've been playing well. They take 2 of 3 in Wrigley. They've won 2 series against National League Central opponents on the road. They won 1 series against NL Central opponents on the road all of last season. So a lot of good stuff happened. Obviously, the draft is, 10 days away? 10 days away now here in Pittsburgh. There's going to be a spot at Point State Park. There's going to be a spot on the North Shore. And it's going to be something. It's going to be something for sure. And we're all looking forward to that. But I'm going to start with the NBA. I'm going to talk NBA a lot because I haven't talked NBA in a while. There's been some really bad regular season games, I will admit as well. There's a third of the league, at least, that intentionally just try losing games at the end of the season, right? I mean, Utah was doing some crazy stuff. Memphis was sitting 1 million players at the end of the season. The Pacers at the end, but the Pacers had so many injuries this season. Washington's just bad. All these teams are just bad, but Washington, we know what the case is there. But just a lot of these teams that really we're not trying to win basketball games, and we're trying to get the best odds to win the lottery and draft one of these star players coming out of college, like a Darren Peterson or an AJ DeBonsta, or one of the boozers. So that gave a lot of free wins to teams. I know the Nuggets, 12-game winning streak going into the playoffs, but a lot of those games were against teams actively trying to lose. Now, they did beat the Spurs twice, the first time in overtime at home, and then inexplicably, I got to talk about this because this is a major story, I think. San Antonio, now I know every team's like, we don't care who we play. If you think you're really good, you don't care who you're playing. You feel confident you can beat them. But San Antonio had a chance to beat Denver, knock Denver down to the 4 seed, and have Denver play a Houston and then an OKC. And then San Antonio would play, the Suns or Portland or whoever in the first round, and then they would play the Lakers, or the whoever won the Lakers versus Timberwolves. It probably would be the Timberwolves actually anyway, even if the Lakers are full strength. And that's still a tough matchup, but they would have avoided playing both Denver and OKC. I mean, Denver's going to play the Spurs and OKC no matter what, probably, assuming they get out of the first round against Minnesota. I'm going to talk about that series. Because Denver, I mean, if I'm the Nuggets, I'm very cautiously optimistic about that series. And you're confident, but Minnesota, they haven't played well recently, but Minnesota's given Denver fits for years now. And Edwards is that guy. So, but instead, San Antonio, Denver's resting literally everybody in the rotation. Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson. I mean, everybody's getting rested. Peyton Watson has been dinged up, and the Nuggets are going to need him for the playoffs. And he's been out for a long time now. But really everybody except Jokic. Jokic played the first half to qualify for the MVP, postseason awards, namely the MVP. I would be surprised if he won it, although I'll admit I haven't been tracking that race extensively. I know SGA is just doing his thing, but he missed about a dozen games, I believe, as well. So, I mean, Wemby obviously has been tremendous and has really lifted. I mean, we saw what the Spurs were last night without Wemby. I mean, they lost by 10 at home to a Nuggets team that, I mean, Jokic played a half. And, I mean, Jonas Valanciunas was dominating San Antonio. I mean, it was crazy to watch. And so that could be a major error for the Spurs, a team that's in the playoffs for the first time, you know, with this group, the first time since 2019, I believe the Spurs are in the playoffs to begin with, which is hard to think about when we remember, I mean, for 20 years, the Spurs being a staple of not only the playoffs, but of the NBA Finals. But they're going to play, so they're the 2 seed still. Obviously, they finished, 8 games ahead of Denver for this 2 seed. But they'll now, with Denver being the 3 seed, assuming the higher seeds win in the first round, Denver and San Antonio are going to face off in the second round. And if Denver gets past Minnesota, I would venture to say they would get past San Antonio. I honestly think San Antonio or Minnesota is a tougher matchup for Denver than the Spurs at this point, because the Spurs don't have that postseason experience, and the Nuggets have had better success against the Spurs than they have against Minnesota. And so, either way for Denver, I mean, this is just a really tough stretch for them if they want to try to make the NBA Finals. You got to play Minnesota, you got to play San Antonio, you got to play OKC if all the higher seeds win, and then you're in the finals. And so it's going to be, I think the West is really compelling this season. I think there are those 3 teams at the top that can make the NBA Finals, but I think the most likely is OKC or Denver. Obviously, OKC would be one. OKC is just, I mean, they're better than they were last year. It's really crazy. AJ Mitchell has really taken that step in year 2, and when they're healthy, I mean, they just have so much depth. It's just impressive. But again, remember, I mean, the Nuggets took the Thunder to 7 games with no depth last season. Now the Nuggets have depth. Tim Hardaway's been tremendous for Denver. Jonas Valanciunas has been a great backup center, getting 10 minutes a game, spelling Jokic from time to time. Jamal Murray's had a career season, should make an All-NBA team for sure. He's been instrumental for the Nuggets. And Aaron Gordon is hitting threes at a really impressive rate. I mean, it's really, really cool to see for Aaron Gordon, because he was always so inconsistent with his three-point shot. And now he's just knocking them down. And if Peyton Watson comes back, I mean, he really took a step this season. So there is a lot more depth for Denver this year. I think that would be such a fun series. I think Denver Spurs is a fun series. I think Thunder Spurs or Thunder Nuggets would be... we're going to get an iteration of that somehow. So it's really exciting in the West. I think Minnesota, I tell you what, they were kind of sleepwalking at times here in this regular season. But you got Edwards, you got Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert down low, although Jokic, for the most part, handles Gobert. But McDaniels has played really well this season, DiVincenzo. And, I mean, they're always going to be. Now, the Timberwolves, and Naz Reid, I can't even forget Naz Reid, but the Timberwolves' depth is really not that good. And so that could be a sticking point in the series. But it's going to be a fun series. I think Denver needs to be very, very cautious, be on their A game against Minnesota. Because I know they're the 6th seed. I know they struggled at the end of the season. But with Edwards and Julius Randle and some of the defensive versatility, I mean, Denver is not a good defensive team. Denver this season was not good defensively. I think that is certainly a concern going into the playoffs. I mean, by far the worst of the contenders defensively. And so that leaves you open to tight games. Their offense is historic, but it leaves you open to tight games, high-scoring games, where it could go either way. So I'm going to get into all those matchups here coming up. But on the Eastern Conference side, it was kind of a weird season in the Eastern Conference. I mean, you had teams like Atlanta and Toronto having really good seasons and finishing 5th and 6th in the East. But, I mean, Toronto, to me, it's going to be Cleveland-Toronto in the first round. And Toronto, to me, just now the thing for Toronto going in their favor is I think they swept the Cavs. They either swept the Cavs or they won 3 of 4 against the Cavs this season. So they really own the Cavs in the regular season. But talent-wise, that should be a game Cleveland wins. Detroit will play Philly, Orlando, Charlotte, or Miami. I tell you what, you got to watch out for the Hornets now. It was really impressive. I mean, they were one of the more impressive teams in the second half of the season. And, I mean, they just went on a crazy run. LaMelo Ball playing well, Brandon Miller. Obviously, Con Knippel, potentially the Rookie of the Year. They just really meshed together as a team in the second half of the season. I mean, they were way under 500, and they were either the best or the second best record in the East the rest of the way. So, in Orlando, I mean, I've been, pounding my fist for Orlando. A lot of people were this season, and they started to turn it on at the end of the season. They're a dangerous team. I just don't. Their defense is not nearly as good as it was last season. And Banchero, and Franz Wagner, you're always left wanting a little more from them. And so, but I think Detroit will go past any of those teams, in Boston as well. Boston's my favorite in the East right now. You get Tatum back. You were already on a 50-win pace plus. You win 56 games. Tatum's back. I mean, I would put them as the favorites in the Eastern Conference. I think you add Vucevic down low. Kata's been giving you great minutes down low in a bench role. Obviously, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard's really taken a step forward. Sam Hauser can hit some shots. I mean, it's just another Celtics. And Mazzulla is not messing around. He does not mess around. And so I think Boston is the favorite in the Eastern Conference. That would be my pick to advance to the NBA Finals. But yeah, they'll beat whoever is in the play-in. As for 3 versus 6, the Knicks versus Atlanta. Yeah, again, Atlanta was really strong to end the season. I mean, they were like 4 games under 500. They end 10 games over 500. But I think a lot of that had to do with just so many teams tanking. But a lot of that had to do with Atlanta, improving this season. But again, I would be surprised playing the Knicks. I would be really surprised if Atlanta didn't lose this series. I think the Knicks are the better team. The Knicks need to win this series. They need to really advance at least to the Eastern Conference Finals. And that's going to be tough with a potential matchup with Boston in the second round. I just don't see the Knicks beating the Celtics like they did last year. I don't see that happening this year. Yeah, Cleveland, Toronto, again, like, Cleveland's the better team, but Toronto did play well against them. I think that could be a 5 or 6 game series, but I would take Cleveland to win that series. And so, but again, people are, I got some Cavs friends. I like the Cavs, obviously, that are high on the team. Think if they play Detroit in round two, which it's looking like that would be the case, assuming the higher seeds win. Cleveland played well against Detroit this season. But again, like, I think the Cavs are a better offensive team, but Detroit's a lot better defensively. The question will be, for Detroit, who's taking the shots in the end? What if Cade Cunningham's having a bad game? I mean, for the Cavs, you can go to Donovan Mitchell, you can go to James Harden. That's another thing, too, with Cleveland. James Harden, will he be himself in the playoffs, which is below par? Or will he have a really strong postseason and lift Cleveland's ceiling to potential NBA Finals contender? I'm not sure about that. I need to see it first with James Harden. I really do. And we just haven't seen it at all. His career, just here and there, you've seen good performances, but then those are supplemented by off games where you're completely an afterthought and you're hurting your team. So that is a compelling. Detroit, Cleveland's compelling. Obviously, Boston, New York is compelling. I would pick Boston. I would pick Detroit. Although I think Cleveland has a better chance of the lower seeds in New York and Cleveland. I think Cleveland has a better chance of advancing past Detroit than the Knicks have against Boston. Especially with what happened last year. Boston has been the better team all season without Tatum, and now Tatum's here. I just think they have too much star power this season. In a year where people thought they might miss the play-in, like not even be in the top 10 teams, Boston. I mean, I always thought that I had them 5th or 6th this season. I thought Jaylen Brown, Derek White, they're going to be a good team. The Boston culture, they're going to be a good team. But, I mean, they've just exceeded all expectations. And so I would take Boston over Detroit. So I think the East is a little more I just think if Philly is the 7th seed and it's Boston-Philly, that'd be a fun series, I think. But, I mean, Boston shouldn't have an issue. If it's Detroit-Philly, I mean, same thing. Or if Orlando advances, Orlando could give you fits a little bit, but Boston would win then 5 or 6. Charlotte, again, we don't know. I mean, Charlotte's point differential is 4th in the Eastern Conference, and they're the 9th place team as it stands. If Charlotte makes it out of the play, and they could give Detroit a fit a little bit, but they just have no playoff experience. And Miami's just mediocre again. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Bam Adebayo would need to score 80 for Miami to have a chance against Detroit or Boston. So, because Tyler Hero's been in and out this season. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is who he is at this point, and their depth really isn't that great. So, that's what it looks like in the Eastern Conference. I mean, I think Boston is the best team now, but you got to give credit to Detroit on a great season, 60 wins. And Cade Cunningham's been tremendous, and they got some good depth. They got just a lot of really good players. But I think it's going to be too much. I think the Celtics are just too much. So I would have the Celtics as the favorites in the Eastern Conference. We're going to take a break here, the first break of the show. Coming up on the other side, I'm going to go through the Western Conference a little more and give my picks on who's coming out of the West. Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Thank you, WPPJ, as always, for giving me the opportunity to have my show and to talk for an hour each week about things going on in the sports world. Talked about the Eastern Conference and the NBA for a little while, that went in depth on who I think's coming out of the East, who some surprise teams could be. And I mean, obviously the East, it kind of there's 4 teams, the top 4, and then there's a drop off. I just think Toronto and Atlanta, are a step down. I think Cleveland probably wins in 5 games if they're playing well, and I think the Knicks would too. Um, in the West, it's kind of tough because there's OKC, who is the favorite until they're dethroned, which seems unlikely at this point. Even with the San Antonio or and a Denver having great seasons, but I think a team like Minnesota, 6th place, could go on a run. Honestly, if Minnesota beats Denver, I could see them beating San Antonio and being in the Western Conference Finals. So I don't think the Lakers or Houston are capable of that, which is why it's kind of weird in the Western Conference. I think there's 4 teams that can make the Western Conference Finals in the West, and I think that's OKC, San Antonio, Denver, and Minnesota. And just going through the playoff matchups, Phoenix will win one of the play-in spots. They'll probably be the 7th seed. And it's either Portland or the Clippers or the Warriors. Take your pick. One of those teams, whoever they're, OKC will win in 4, maybe in 5 somehow. One of those teams could get a win, but OKC is just far superior over any of those teams. The Clippers, if they played a different team, it might be a different story, but they just don't have enough firepower behind Kawhi Leonard. Darius Garland's solid, obviously Ben Mather, and it's a good team, but it's not going to pose a threat to the Thunder. And so OKC would advance in the first round. San Antonio versus Phoenix. Phoenix could win a game, honestly. Win a game or two, maybe 2 games, but San Antonio is going to win that series, especially if Wembanyama's. As long as Wembanyama's playing, San Antonio is going to win that series. Lakers, Houston, excuse me. Honestly, I think Houston wins that series. The Lakers have been a fraud team all season. I've said that. They were looking a little better with Luka and Austin Reeves and LeBron, but that OKC game, they lose by 50 to OKC twice. They're just not. And they had a completely fluke win against the Nuggets. The Nuggets played terribly the whole game. And then the Nuggets come back, they're up like 8 in the 4th quarter, and they just completely choke the game against the Lakers. Just some mind-boggling late game issues for the Nuggets and miscues. And the Lakers feasted off of Utah. They feasted off Memphis and those teams. Dallas beat them last week, actually, but they feasted off the bottom of the NBA this season. So I think Houston with, KD. It'll be a fun series. KD versus LeBron, kind of, but they're both. Obviously LeBron. It's just incredible what he's doing right now, and KD as well. Honestly, at such a advanced age, NBA wise. But I think the Rockets just have more depth as a team still, even without Fred VanVleet all season. Reed Shepherd stepped up a little bit this season. You talk about Amen Thompson. Şengün has that playoff experience from last season. So I think, and Jabari Smith's been playing well. So I think Houston's just the better team. Houston a plus 5.2 point differential. The Lakers were plus 1.7, and it was minus for a large majority of the season. I just think the Lakers, they've just, for a few years now, they've just been a team where they're just getting by, and they're not a serious threat. Like a Denver will sweep them or win in 5. Houston will probably win in 6 or something, but I would take Houston in that series. And then Denver, Minnesota, I honestly think that could go 7. I honestly do, and that would be a disaster for the Nuggets. But I think the Nuggets will probably win that series. I think overall, just Jokic, Murray, I like more than Edwards, Randall at the top. Now, defensively, Minnesota's better. Minnesota's not great defensively, but they have a McDaniels, right? They have a DiVincenzo, some wing defenders. who are solid. And the Nuggets have that, and Peyton wants him, but he's been hurt. And obviously, Aaron Gordon is really strong defensively, but the Nuggets just have not been good defensively all season. And so I think that's one of the reasons why Minnesota would be able to win a couple games and make this a series for sure. But I think the Nuggets' depth is better, and obviously offensively they're better. And I think the Nuggets do win in 6 or 7 games. I could see it going 7. I think, if you're Minnesota, a lot of Minnesota fans I saw, they're confident in their team. Minnesota has had their way with Denver a little bit. Knocked them out of the playoffs a few years ago. The regular season, they've given them fits. Gobert, he's a great defender. And you can Jokic has a lot of weight on Gobert. But Gobert is still really good defensively down low. And can catch some lobs and alley-oops and stuff, which work against the Nuggets because Jokic isn't that shot-blocking center. So I do think Minnesota is going to make this series. Obviously, Denver's won 12 in a row. They're feeling great and everything. I think Minnesota can easily make this a series, and so I'm going to say Nuggets in 7. I'm going to predict that, and I think what's going to in the end hurt the Timberwolves is their lack of depth. Looking at their team, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They'll play 10 guys, probably, but it's a lot. It's like Mike Conley, it's Terrence Shannon in a big spot. It's Bones Highland, he's a Nuggets legend. We love Bones Highland, but he's not good defensively. And so Minnesota just has a lot of players at the end of the bench that they really don't want to use, but you kind of have to in case foul trouble or whatever. In these situations, Denver's actually opens up 6.5-point favorite. Actually, it opened 5.5. It's been bet up to 6.5 on DraftKings. So that is interesting. Actually, that's a Minnesota plus 6.5 for me. I don't really understand that line. I think Minnesota is an active team this season in the playoffs here. But I am going to take Denver. I'm going to take San Antonio over a Phoenix or a Portland or whoever. I'm going to take OKC over whoever comes out of the play-in. And I'm going to take Houston. Then you would have OKC versus Houston. Again, Houston, it's been a good season. The Rockets, front office and everything, they really thought this was going to be their year here. But that Fred VanVleet injury is just so tough on them. I think they could win a game, maybe 2. Against the Thunder, but again, the Thunder are going to make the Western Conference Finals. I would wager a good amount that the Thunder would make the Western Conference Finals. And then you look at San Antonio, Denver. I'm taking Denver. I am. I think experience matters in this series. I think the fact that the Nuggets have owned the Spurs this season. Spurs have lost 4 games in 2 or 3 months, and 3 of them were against Denver. I think that means something, especially for a young team. I think De'Aaron Fox is a really solid option. Stephon Castle's really solid, although he had a bad game against the Nuggets last night. Dylan Harper's a solid player. The Spurs got a lot of solid players. But I think the Nuggets do as well this season, which is a difference in compared to last year, is that extra depth. And I know the Nuggets' defense has been an issue, but I think in the playoffs, they're going to tighten up a little more. I think they're just a team that plays loose, especially in the regular season. And so I think they're going to tighten up defensively. I think Aaron Gordon is going to help with that a lot. And if they can get Peyton Watson back, that would be a huge shot in the arm for this Denver team. So I'm going to take Denver in 6 against the Spurs, actually. And I feel pretty good about that. If Denver can make it to the second round, and they can get past. I think Minnesota, I said this, is a tougher challenge than San Antonio, which people are going to be like, that's crazy. Minnesota finished 13 games behind the Spurs. But I think Minnesota poses some unique challenges to Denver. And as for, OKC Denver in a Western Conference Finals, I would take OKC. I would. I think I'm a Nuggets guy, and the Nuggets obviously took OKC to 7 games last season. But I just think OKC, man, and it matters how just Denver could not. They were right there with OKC in the regular season. They could not finish, and they could not win against the Thunder. I mean, they won a few games ago by 20, but nobody was playing for OKC. And so, again, I think the Thunder, they were the best team in the regular season. I think they're the best team out there still. And I would have an OKC, really chalk, OKC Boston NBA Finals. And I would pick OKC, but I think that'd be a really fun series, man. I tell you what. I think I could easily see Boston winning that, honestly. And the Pacers last year were not as talented as the Thunder, and they took them to 7. And if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't have that injury, it could be a whole different ball game in that series. I think the Celtics are a live team to win the championship. I don't think it's just OKC guaranteed. But I would take OKC as it stands. That's my prediction. I think OKC. We haven't had a back-to-back champion in almost a decade now, which is something else. The Warriors, and so that may give me pause a little bit. But this Thunder team ran roughshod over the league this season, and they've been the best team for 2 years. I'm going to roll with the Thunder to win it all. Although, if obviously Denver, I think, could beat the Thunder, theoretically. I could see that happening. I wouldn't bet on it. But I think Denver, this is a better Denver team, certainly, than last season. Not defensively, but I think in the playoffs they'll be better defensively. It's just hard with Jokic, and Murray, he tries, but he's not the greatest defender. And Christian Brown, I think he's overrated as a defender, honestly. Every time I watch him, I'm not impressed with his defensive instincts and coverages. But Aaron Gordon is a good defender, and he's a versatile defender. And so he can guard some of the best players. And it was interesting, they were putting Aaron Gordon on Wembanyama. So that would be an interesting wrinkle in a Spurs-Nuggets series. Would be putting Aaron Gordon on Wembanyama, how that would impact the rest of the defense for the Nuggets, and how the Spurs, they really rely on Wembanyama. He's their rim protector. We saw, Luke Cornett was out too in that game last night, and the Nuggets, Valanciunas and Jokic, and even like a Zeke Naji and David Roddy were having their way with these Spurs players. They had Carter Bryant as like the center for a stretch, and so it's paramount for the Spurs that Wemby doesn't get in foul trouble during any of these games, and the Luke Cornett and both of them stay healthy, because they're a bad basketball team without Wemby and Luke Cornett. Which is, it's true. Like, without Luke Cornett, the Spurs are not a great team. They're really not that good. So it's going to be interesting. I think the Spurs, it's been such an impressive season for San Antonio, especially the last few months. Them and the Hornets have been the hottest teams in the league. I just question, remember in OKC, they get to the second round, but it's their first year. Wembanyama's young. Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, these are a lot of young players. Champagnie, a lot of young players. And even, Keldon Johnson getting their really first shots at the playoffs. It's a new experience for most of those Spurs players. And even De'Aaron Fox, he's been around a while, but he wasn't in the playoffs much with Sacramento. We know that. And when he was, they lost in 7 to Golden State. So I think that edge to Denver or OKC or whoever would be too much to overcome for the Spurs. So I would have OKC and then Denver in the West. But what a year for the Spurs. They won, 34 games last year. They won 62 this year. Just really impressed by San Antonio. And, yeah, that's my predictions here in the NBA. Playoffs, let's see when these play-in games are starting pretty soon here. And they'll be interesting, but I just think this is not a year of the play-in teams, right? With an OKC and San Antonio and Boston and Detroit. I don't think this is a year where even a Charlotte could make a run. So there's some games on Tuesday and Wednesday in the play-in. So yeah, I mean, some of these play-in games will be fun, but really like the second round, I think, and there's a couple first-round games, matchups of note. Obviously, I mentioned Denver and the Timberwolves, but I mean, other than that, really, I mean, I think a lot of these are going to be one-sided matchups here. I just think the Hawks and the Raptors in the East are just a notch below the Knicks and the Cavs. The Lakers aren't anything. Houston right now opens as 5.5-point favorites at the Lakers. Yeah, because Luka's out, Austin Reeves is out. But yeah, I mean, if the Lakers beat the Rockets, that's another feather in the cap for LeBron. Absolutely. I mean, he is just if they win that, it's another level for LeBron, because it's literally just him and Marcus Smart and Jared Vanderbilt and Luke Kennard and Jake LaRavia, and Jackson Hayes. I mean, that would be really impressive if the Lakers were able to win in that round one. And again, I actually don't know the availabilities of Austin Reeves or of Luka Doncic, but it doesn't sound like they're going to be coming back very soon. And so, actually the Knicks are only 4.5-point favorites against the Hawks. The Cavs are 7.5-point favorites against the Raptors. So there's some respect to the Hawks being given. Obviously, the Hawks adding Kuminga at the trade deadline. A lot of people are like, what are you doing? You already got Jalen Johnson at that position. But Johnson's been really good, and Kuminga's been really good for the Hawks. Hawks are a feisty team. And the Raptors, the thing with the Raptors, I just don't think they don't have that go-to guy. I mean, Brandon Ingram's really solid, R.J. Barrett, Scotty Barnes, but they don't have that go-to number one that I think you need to advance in the playoffs. Look at the Hawks. Let me see what they've got going on here recently. Oh, and I got to mention Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's had a career season for Atlanta and is shooting really well. I mean, 20.8 points a game. I mean, he's just been really solid. So, Atlanta's a good team, but I don't see them giving the Knicks too much trouble. I feel like the Knicks win that in 5. I think the Cavs probably win in 5, unless that regular season, Raptors dominance really means something, and we'll see if that does. But that's all for the NBA. Talked a good 40 minutes about it, and we'll have more going forward. We'll have some Stanley Cup playoffs going forward as well. But going to take our final break of the show. Coming up, I'm going to talk some Pens a little bit, some Buccos, who had an opportunity to have a sweep in Wrigley and blew it, but still took 2 or 3 from the Cubs. And a lot more. Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Final 15 or so minutes of the show here. Had a great time. Hope everyone listening is enjoying what I got to say here a little bit. A lot of NBA. So if you're an NBA fan, I'm sure you're very excited for what's coming. The Pens, I'll talk about them briefly here. I mean, they clinched the playoffs. Now they're kind of resting people and kind of, obviously to play Washington. Washington needed those games a lot more. And they beat the Penguins twice, but it's going to be very tough for Washington to make the playoffs still. They would need Philadelphia to lose twice, and for the Capitals to win and for Philadelphia to lose twice. Which, who does Philly play? Philly plays the Hurricanes and the Canadiens. I mean, it could happen, honestly, but the Flyers need those games. I think the Flyers win one of them. I think it's going to be Pens Flyers in the first round, which is going to be a lot of fun. I would favor the Pens, certainly, in that series, although Philadelphia has been on a tear, a relative tear recently. Although they've lost some games that are like head-scratchers, but namely Detroit twice. Another big story, Detroit missing the playoffs. Again, I mean, it was right in front of them. They have no one to blame but themselves. I mean, they had every chance to make the playoffs, and they just came up short. And so they're going to miss the playoffs again in the Eastern Conference. But, yeah, it's shaping up. I mean, it's going to be fun, regardless. In the NHL, Stanley Cup playoffs are always really exciting. It'll be even more exciting with the Pens in it. Although, second round matchup against Carolina, or I think it's against Carolina. The NHL is kind of weird with this. I don't know if I necessarily like this. They just do the second place team in the Metro against the third place team in the Metro, the second place team in the Atlantic against the third place team, and it's like, why don't you just seed everybody, 1 through 8 on each, kind of like the NBA does, and like you normally see, and just go from there. I don't understand. Kind of they want to get the rivalries. Yeah, that's great, whatever. But I don't really understand the need for that. I mean, Stanley Cup playoffs are crazy regardless, but that's neither here nor there. But you're looking at, Colorado as the favorites, probably in the West, although you're looking at a Dallas. Edmonton's been bad this season, honestly, but they're always a threat, and Vegas just beat the Avalanche. So it's gonna be interesting in the NHL here. It is kind of crazy. Tampa's third in the Atlantic, and looks like they're gonna finish third probably. And they were first for like the whole season. Buffalo's had a tremendous season. I mean, they've been incredible. I can't say enough about what they are doing, and it'll be interesting to see how they play. I mean, this is their first time in the playoffs in a long time, and it's a young team. How they kind of respond. They're going to play Boston probably, and that's not a easy series for Buffalo, honestly. That's welcome to the playoffs, Buffalo, and you're playing Boston in the first round. And I know Boston hasn't been great this year, but they've been pretty good, and they're a franchise with much more accolades than the Sabres. And it looks like Ottawa's going to get that. I think they clinched. Yeah, Ottawa clinched a playoff spot as well. They're going to get that second wild card in all likelihood, unless they win their next game and Boston loses. And so Ottawa, again, they snuck in again. They did that last year. They were the best team out of that group, in my opinion. Plus 30 goal differential. And so I think Ottawa, again, if it's Ottawa, Carolina, I think Carolina would win that in 5 probably. But Carolina, again, they just go about their business. And then this year they're really good offensively. That's been their thing, is in big spots, can they generate that offense to pair with their tenacious defense? But they've scored a ton of goals this year. They lead the Eastern Conference in goals and are second only to Colorado in goals in the whole NHL. So Carolina, again, that's what I'm saying. Like Pens, if they're going to play Carolina, and the Penguins haven't had any success in Carolina in a long, long time, which is some pause for concern. But obviously it's one series at a time. It looks like it will be Pens Flyers, which is exciting. That rivalry. I would say the Pens win in 6. I think the Flyers might get 1 or 2 maybe. But, and the rivalry aspect, I think, adds to it a little bit. But I just don't think Philadelphia has enough, like, firepower. So the Pens are very comfortable playing high-scoring games, and that's been one of their keys this season. They've scored a bunch of goals as well, and they're okay going to 5-4, 4-3 in a game. And Philadelphia's more trying to prevent goals and win 2-1 or 3-2. And so it'll be a stylistic battle in that series. But I do think the Pens having home ice, I think they're the better team. I would favor them against the Flyers. But it's going to be fun. I know a lot of my friends here at Point Park, huge hockey fans, going to be at Game 1 and Game 2. We're very excited for playoff hockey back in Pittsburgh. It's been too long. It's been 3 years, which is 3 years too long for playoff hockey in Pittsburgh. And so really looking forward to that. And then I'm going to close just talking about the Pirates a little bit. They lost 2 of 3 to San Diego. Not a good series for the Pirates. They let Game 1 get away. Game 2 was Skeens, and they added on for a 7-1 win. Game 3, they easily, Mitch Keller pitched really, really strong, and the Pirates bullpen completely blew it. And that's been a theme in the losses for the Buccos early on this season. I don't want to hammer the bullpen because they've had their moments, but we saw it in the second game against Chicago where the Pirates almost blew it, and then Yohan Ramirez was tremendous in those 2 innings. He was fumbling all over and stumbling all over himself in both those innings, but he was able to get out of it. He was causing more problems for himself, but he was getting out of it still. It was really impressive. And then in that third game, the Pirates just blitzed Jamison Tyone, O'Neal Cruz, Brandon Lau, 2 homers. And the Pirates, they can't hold on to the lead. And, it was just a run here or there. And then Justin Lawrence in a big spot. He was in there a little too long. He had the lefty ready. Again, I think taking 2 of 3 in Wrigley is still really, really cool and really important for the Pirates to show, hey, we're here. But a sweep would have been just spectacular. And it was right in their grasp the whole game. And then even they had the runner on third, 2 outs, and they have that check swing call on Brandon Lau that he didn't swing, but they called it he swung, and that really hurt the Buccos as well. But the Pirates have to do a better job going forward. The Cubs were terrible with runners in scoring position, but the Pirates have to do a better job when they get a lead to add on. That's what happened last season. The Pirates would get a lead, but it'd be like a 3-run lead, and they didn't add on because their offense just wasn't very good. And they never hit with runners in scoring position, and it really cost them. And so I think that has to be the difference with this team. Obviously, when you score 6 runs, you expect to win. But with the wind blowing out at Wrigley and with the Cubs kind of desperate to get a win at home in the series, you got to add on some runs here or there. And they didn't really pose too much of a threat for any of the innings later in the game, and that happened on Friday too, on Saturday, where they scored some runs early. They had the 3 runs early, and they never added on. They won those first 2 games, and that was important, but that's going to be something the Pirates need to do going forward. They have a 7-game homestand coming up. They play the Nationals for 4. They play the Rays for 3. Actually, hey, I should plug this actually. On Tuesday, tomorrow, April 14th against the Nationals, it's Point Park night at PNC Park. There's still a lot of tickets available for Point Park students. I think they're $28, but they come with some really cool benefits. They come with a Point Park Pirates themed jersey. It's a really nice jersey. It has the Pirates and Point Park green. It's really cool. And if you want to spend a night with the Pirate Parrot and with your Point Park friends and family, tomorrow, Tuesday, April 14th, against the Nationals, tickets are available. You can just look up Point Park Night at PNC Park, and you'll find a link where you can get tickets. For students, it is, again, I think $28, and I think we sold over 150. Don't know the exact number, but which is the most we've sold actually since we've been doing this, and which we're really proud of. But if anybody wants any last-minute tickets, they're still available. They're going to be available up to tomorrow, so they'll be available tomorrow if you want to get them as well. And it's supposed to be really nice tomorrow, I think. I mean, I think the weather's pretty nice all week, which is very nice, starting to kind of get into that summer mode here in the Steel City. But yeah, Tuesday, April 14th, PNC Park, Nationals Pirates, Point Park night in the left field bleachers. So wanted to plug that actually while I was talking about the Pirates, who have their 7-game homestand coming up, a very winnable homestand. Washington, they've been actually kind of impressive. They took it to Milwaukee this weekend, but that's a team the Pirates should have success with in a 4-game series. And then Tampa for 3. That should be a series the Pirates can win 2 of 3 in. And at home, Tampa probably the worst team in the AL East, although it's kind of weird in the American League right now. But a lot of winnable opportunities for the Pirates coming up. And they're in a good spot. I think they're tied for first in the NL Central. Could have been in sole possession of first if they held on and won yesterday. But they're still in a good spot early. Pitching is looking really good, starting pitching. Bubba Chandler was encouraging yesterday. Gave up a few runs, but limited the walks, which is good to see. And the issue is, Justin Lawrence and consistency out of a Mason Montgomery, who was good against Chicago, but that consistency for some of these guys in the bullpen, and for the Pirates to continually add on runs in the later innings of games to really put teams away with the starting pitching the Pirates have. But that'll do it for the Sports Scoop today. Thank you everyone again for listening in. Thank you to WPPJ for the opportunity to talk sports for an hour here. I hope everybody has a great Monday today and is having a great Monday today. I hope everybody has a great week today, great week this week. Again, should be nice and warm and sunny for a lot of the week, which is very exciting. And what else is very exciting is we got Stanley Cup hockey coming up in the Berg. We got the draft coming up in a week and a half, and we got NBA playoffs. There's a lot of good stuff going on right now. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Sports Scuba Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM.